Hello everybody. Today we are going to be talking about one of the most important molecules in biology, ATP. Now everything in this video is going to relate to a couple key concepts that I'm going to write down over here. Now it's these concepts that you really want to concentrate on because while the details about ATP are important, they are only the knowing that support the understanding. And it's these concepts that being familiar with give you a deeper understanding about biology and how life works. These key concepts are energy and energy transfer, and form and function. Okay, so what is ATP? ATP is this molecule, and it stands for adenosine triphosphate. So, ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It is composed of an adenine component, which is this right here, a ribose sugar, and then 3 phosphates, which is the triphosphate part in the name. Now, it's these 3 phosphates that we're going to really be concentrating on in this video. This is where all the action happens. Before we get into ATP itself, it is important to quickly go over energy and what that really means. Our daily lives and the way we talk about energy can lead to misleading concepts about what energy really is. Our daily lives has led us to believe it's something that flows in our wires and we have after we sleep and whatnot. But fundamentally, energy, and this relates to this first fundamental concept, energy simply means the potential for change to occur. So if you think about a classic example, we have 2 slides or hills, and one of them has a ball on top. The other one, the ball is at the bottom. Now, if I was to ask you which system has more energy, the answer might not be clear at first. But if I said, in which of these cases is change more likely to occur, you would point almost immediately to this one, because it's quite likely that for this ball to roll down this hill, and that would be a big change, a ball going from height A to height B. In this case, it is extremely unlikely that left to its own devices, this ball will roll up this hill. And so this case, let's call them 1 and 2, this case has less energy than case 1, for there is less potential for change. Now let's come back to the ATP molecule itself. As I said before, it's in these 3 phosphate groups at the end of the molecule that we're going to put most of our attention. Between each of these phosphate groups are covalent bonds. That's how they're held together. If you can remember from chemistry, covalent bonds are when electrons are shared between molecules. This requires a lot of energy to make them, and they're really hard to break. But when they are broken, a lot of energy is released. So how ATP works, and we'll go into a specific example in a minute, is when this molecule comes into contact with another, it will donate this 3rd phosphate group here. So this 3rd phosphate group will break off, leaving us with the same base, the same sugar, but 2 phosphates instead. And that's where we get the term ADP. It stands for adenosine diphosphate rather than triphosphate. When this phosphate group here on the end is donated to the other molecule and this bond between them is broken, the electrons, just like the balls on the hill that were on a high energy state, move down to a lower energy state. releasing energy. So that's where the energy really comes from in this interaction. And that energy is harnessed. And that brings us to our next example and our second major theme, form and function. So if you can imagine, in order to sustain the high complexity of life we have today, cells have to be highly organized. Now, one way this is accomplished is through using motor proteins to actively move things around your cell by sort of walking on these structural fibers in your cytoplasm that act as rails. So in blue we have a protein, and in red is this fiber. Now at the other end of this protein there will be whatever needs to be moved. And what will happen is this protein will be sitting here. ATP, through diffusion, will come into contact with this protein and donate that third phosphate group, leaving us with a ATP instead. Now when this third phosphate group binds, that energy is harnessed and a structural change occurs within this protein. And this is what strongly relates over here to form and function. Now if you can remember, proteins are formed by stringing together amino acids. And then this string folds because an amino acid over here might be slightly positive, while an amino acid over here is slightly negative. So you'll get a fold, and it will begin to look like this. This could also be hydrogen bonds or other intermolecular forces. Now what happens is when the phosphate comes and attaches somewhere on this string, it causes a change in the folding. So rather than looking like this, your protein might look like this. In the case of the motor protein, when this phosphate attaches, this back leg over here shifts and becomes the front leg. Now in this form, this phosphate can no longer hold on and it breaks off, moving back into the cytoplasm. The protein returns to its original shape with this back leg in front. And so it is through this process of donating a phosphate group and that phosphate group breaking off that these legs walk along the fibers and material is transported across cells. That was a quick review on ATP. Remember the big ideas, and thanks for watching.